Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Ferrochrome company Merafe, which generates revenue and operating income primarily from its chrome venture with mining and marketing major Glencore, posted through-the-roof cash generation in 2015 and ticked every box from upped production to improved safety. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Hi, Martin.
Hi, Sashnee.
Merafe's weak rand-boosted operating activities generated 212% more cash, despite the 12% net decline in the ferrochrome price. What was this feat attributed to?
You know, this was a fantastic surprise on the upside. One only sort of wakes up to what's happening when you see the reports going through to the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Ahead of that, you know, you're tempered by all the reports saying things are bad, you know, the results are going to be bad. And then all of a sudden you get Merafe coming up like this, shooting the lights out, you know, proverbially, and having cash going up like 212%. A big surprise. And I put it down to a superb showing by that Glencore and Merafe team. You know, Merafe has become something of a Glencore proxy. They've got the joint chrome venture that they work on, and out of this comes all these wonderful achievements. Because one thing about Glencore, it's got a marketing side to it, and this is so important with mining companies. You know, you realize that having a marketing side, you understand the market so well, you can tune your business to suit that. You can tune your production. You also know where the prices are, so you know you need to do certain footwork to make sure that you get the best return, which is clearly coming through. We see it in the Merafe results, because there's no listing on the ferrochrome side by Glencore. You know, Glencore is a big diversified major listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, but it's reporting across so many different commodities that you don't get the same focus that you do when it comes out of Merafe. And another wonderful thing about this is ferrochrome. It's fulfilling that great beneficiation wish of the government, adding value at home. Now we do see some, you know, raw chrome is also going through, but this is how the world is at the moment. You know, you've got to mix and match, and you can't be sort of totally fixated on adding value at home when there's certain demand for raw chrome. So that also goes out. I think we've got a nice balance there with the chrome venture, the Glencore and Merafe chrome venture, and it's clearly evident in these latest results that came out from Merafe.
While global demand for ferrochrome fell 2.2%, Chinese ferrochrome consumption increased 2.1%, and China's imports of South African ferrochrome last year was 24% higher than in 2014. Can you unpack this?
I mean, just listen to that. It's incredible. Here we get the story, you know, things are bad in China. You get that daily. They're going from an industrial-led economy to a consumption-led economy. Therefore, don't expect too much more demand for your commodities because things are changing there. It's a transitional economy. And they take 24% more from South Africa, and their consumption grows by 2 point. You know, the irony is all there. So I suppose you've got to look across different commodities. You know, iron ore is the one that is really being hammered out of sight, and it looks like it'll continue to be hammered out of sight. But you see things like ferrochrome and chrome actually doing brilliantly, because when you look at the volume of ferrochrome and chrome that China's now getting from South Africa, we are by far the major supplier. And I also take my hat off there to Glencore. The way they market, the way they do things is absolutely superb. And we are benefiting as a country, because when you've got a weak rand situation like this, you don't want too much inflation to hit you. You've got to make sure that you are continuing to export. And this is just what is being done. And not only exporting without the added value, there's also the big added value situation. And when you look at what ferrochrome contributes to our economy, it's colossal. I know that they were hoping it to be more, and that they wanted more added value. And China sort of took some of that because it also wants to produce its own ferrochrome, but then it's using our chrome, so at least we're benefiting on that side. So all round, I think it's a good result.
South Africa saw a marginal year-on-year decrease in ferrochrome production from 3.75 million tonnes in 2014 to 3.71 million tonnes in 2015. How do you explain this decrease?
Well, again, if a market is looking like it's oversupplied, it's good to trim the production. You don't want to lift production at that stage because it's going to hit your price. We know that we've had so many mining companies having to cut back, having to relook at their capital allocation, because they don't want to oversupply. And we have got a history in mining of just digging and digging and digging and not looking at the market, and things swing up and they come down. But this particular downturn is particularly heavy, particularly harsh. So when you've got a company that's also always got its eye on the marketing ball, it makes sure that it doesn't oversupply. So if it's got to pull in its horn slightly, it's doing so probably for very good reason, and that helps the market.
Merafe said it expected the short term to be challenging with weaker commodity prices and concerns about Chinese economic growth, but that it would be able to withstand the low prices. How so?
Again, this is a company that has at big level, you see the total Glencore. It has been so fast in cutting back on costs. It presented a plan to its shareholders, which it said, we can work this plan. The shareholders said, no, you must really trim this. And although their belief was they could push their original plan through, this is at macro level from a corporate point of view, they bowed to the shareholders and went through everything. And you can see now they've done amazing things. They've raised cash through streaming gold in the ground. They've sold off assets. They're going to sell off some more agricultural assets. But it was good for them to respond to the market like they did. And when you see that on the horizon there are challenges, they will again respond to the market, and it will be Merafe results again that we see later down the line to see how well they've done. But I should imagine that it's going to be tough because the market is tough at the moment. But there's so many different corporate companies rising to this toughness that we now need to see governments match because the governments are lagging badly. I mean, this is a big user of electricity, for instance. Now, Eskom believes it can just go along and get increases all the time. Those increases are devastating because the hard work that these people do to wipe out their costs just gets nullified when Eskom comes along. They wanted a 16% increase. Thank God, they were pushed down to 9%, but even 9% is very, very high in this environment, extremely high, and it's above inflation. And we've got to, if we want to beneficiate, we've got to get competitively priced electricity. Otherwise, it's a non-starter. There's got to be the volume of electricity, and they've got to be the competitive price. They are succeeding in doing this because they introduced a plant called Lion 2, which was very low in energy use. So it actually cut the energy use. So say you had an allocation from Eskom at 100. They then said, we only need 70 because it meant that they were using less electricity. And this is a very important factor. But of course, along comes Eskom increases the price. So what's happening in South Africa is these companies that are doing the country a world of good, they're having to pay more and more for electricity, but more and more for less and less electricity because they're cutting back. And I think it's time that Eskom went and looked at itself in the mirror and said, look, every company in South Africa is having to cut back like crazy. We must also do that because we must ensure that our increases are not above inflation. They've got to at least it would be great if they could be slightly below inflation, but certainly not above inflation, because that upsets the whole apple cart. And probably one of the reasons why Merafe is saying challenging year ahead.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Sashnee.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on South Africa's mining industry.